Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Jim and Philip. I just listened to your talk. It was fantastic. And even just the dialogue afterwards. So I was glad I was able to participate in that. So I'm glad to be here. And, I want you to think about something for a moment. There was a fight in 1997 with Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. And in that fight, Mike Tyson bit off a portion of Evander Holyfield's ear. And it's reported that when he was asked about that fight and how he felt about it, he said that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And in that moment, emotions are high, anxiety, fear, all these things probably bubbled up in him that had a lot to do with emotions and may have led to decision-making in that moment that wouldn't have, not typically ideal, right? Going to bite someone's ear off. He knew better, but in that moment, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So I want you to think about that as I go through this conversation and how I believe that 2020 has punched the world in the mouth. That's how I really look at it. And that's why I say that behavior matters. And I say hashtag behavior matters more than ever right now. And why is that important? Well, if you think about the things that happen that cause stress, anxiety, fear, love, greed, all of those serious emotions, that is when our behavior, our natural hardwired behavior comes out loud and proud, where it's amplified. And that could be a good thing, which I call superpowers, behavioral superpowers specifically, or that could be kryptonite. It just depends on the situation and what might serve you in that moment. So right now I'm going to talk to you about 5 areas where this is important. But first, my name is Kenyatta Turner. I am the founder of Freedom Empire Consulting, where I help my clients build and shield their freedom empires. I decode human behavior and I optimize performance using validated and scientific behavioral insights. I'm also the Chief Behavioral SuperPowers Consultant for a company named DreamSmart Academy, and I also serve on their National Advisory Board. We coach, train, mentor teens, young adults, professionals, and we actually are building a behavioral superpowers universe that has many dimensions. And right now I'm going to speak to you about 5 areas where behavior is going to matter. I am an outgoing, fast-paced influencer. That's one of the behavioral superpowers. There's 10 of them. Influencer is one of them. I know that I have a hardwired innate behavior style, things that I do that can either improve my performance or derail my performance. And I've had these specific behaviors since I was a toddler, as you have as well. These things are starting to be wired in our amygdala as young as the age of 3. That's why if you have a younger brother or sister or someone you grew up with, or even a child, there's certain things that you say that they always do. You've always done that. You always say that. You always show up late. You're always early. Your room's always clean. Your room's always dirty, right? These are things that are just innate. They are behaviors. And that's exactly what we measure. We measure that hardwired behavior because those things don't change very much over time. Strengths and weaknesses is not what I'm speaking about, because a strength doesn't necessarily, a behavior is not necessarily a strength or a weakness. It just depends on the situation. So the 5 situations I want to talk about where behavior matters more than ever right now, this minute, okay, is in the classroom, dealing with teacher and student relations, in the workplace, dealing with employee-employer relations, in the home, where there could be intimate relationship dynamics, the internet, or social media. Obviously, there's a digital relationship there. And then more importantly, and this affects all of it, is within oneself, self-awareness. That is the place where it all begins. So let me dig into this just a little bit more, right? Think about it, a classroom situation. Let's say you've got 2 students and both of them have the same homework assignment. They have the same thing they need to do. But if you knew what their behavior was or paid attention to it, you would know that one might just always be very flexible in how they do things. That was me. One might be extremely concrete and systematic in how they do things. Maybe very systematic and very organized. Maybe someone like me who will come in hot, 3 bullet points, and I can figure it out, right? So those are 2 different types of dynamic, and those 2 students may be treated differently by the instructor because the instructor has their own behavioral style. And right now, when tensions are high, anxiety, uncertainty, all of these emotions that we are going through, our behaviors are amplified more than ever. who you naturally are. And that moment is going to come out when things happen that you feel like you can't control. So either you have a plan or not, who you are naturally wired is going to come out, unless you put in practice what I call the situational awareness. To know thyself, or to know yourself, you must first sacrifice the illusion that you already do. Veronica Tugleva said that. I love that. To know yourself, you must sacrifice the illusion that you already do. And that's why taking a moment to learn about yourself in a way that might be new to you, to gather self-awareness in a way and really think about what your natural instinctive behavior might be, can be critical in a moment when you're a teacher maybe dealing with a student, or you're the student and you're in the classroom, or you are an employer and you are someone who's very daring by nature in how you do things, but you're working with a staff member who's more concrete, who needs to know proven pathways to do something. Those are the kind of, situational differences and behavioral differences that can cause a rift in communication, that can cause relational friction. So being aware of it about yourself is obviously the key, but then being intuitive enough to try to understand those things in others, so that one of you may have to give in that moment. And again, right now, everyone's at a heightened level of stress and anxiety and different things like that, that we're all trying to figure this out together. But who we are and how we're wired is going to determine how we show up every single time. So being aware of that is key. On the internet, now that's a place where you can actually think before you speak, especially if you're typing messages and in threads and things like that. But sometimes we read things and we wonder, did that person even think before they wrote that? Well, I don't know about all that, but I do know that that is also a moment where you get to decide how you show up. You might read a post and have an instant response to that. It's the situational awareness to go, okay, right now, I normally would respond in a certain type of way, but does that serve me? Does that serve the world? Does that serve the purpose or our global purpose that we're working towards right now? How is this helping the situation? That is where behavior matters more than ever, is in those moments of that punch in the mouth. And it could be a slam in the mouth or even a little nudge. Either way, that matters. And then thinking about oneself. Again, I mentioned the behavioral superpower component. That's what we call them. There are 10 behavioral superpowers, and they are, and I'm looking so I don't forget any of them: influencer, which is my own; engager, community builder, relationship builder, facilitator, adapter, stylish thinker, reflective thinker, strategist, and initiator. And just based on the names of those particular behavioral superpowers, you can guess what type of profile that person might be. But even within that, there's behavioral fingerprints that make each person unique, meaning I'm an influencer, but so is my mother. I'm an outgoing, fast-paced influencer. She's a take charge, fast-paced influencer. Either way, we have differences in how we think about results and relationships and flexibility and systematic, daring versus careful, or abstract versus concrete, promoting versus operating. These are all things where we are going to see things differently, even though we're both influencers. So that situational awareness tells me that I know where I'm someone who could be very flexible, extremely outgoing, loud, very creative. I don't care about thinking inside the box. You can take your box and shove it. I'm not interested, right? I'm going to create my own box because that's my nature to do so. And when I'm excited or scared or fearful or emotional, I'm even more of an outgoing, fast-paced influencer. So that is why it's important to have the self-awareness about yourself first, so that you can better understand others and not judge just because they do things differently than you. And then also figure out how to bridge the gap and meet people in the middle so that you can have harmonious conversations with them when everyone has been punched in the mouth right now. So behavior matters more than ever. My name is Kenyatta Turner, founder of Freedom Empire Consulting. And if you want to know more, you can just go to my website at freedomempireconsulting.com. But if you put /freebie after that, then you can have an opportunity to get a gift. And I call it the 10 super secret hacks to unleashing your behavioral superpowers. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much. And again, my name is Kenyatta Turner. Remember, # behavior matters more than ever right now. Thank you.